The end of Oak Street is better than every modern Jurassic Park film we have gotten. I went into the end of Oak Street with reserved expectations, and I walked out wanting a sequel. Here's everything that happened. Welcome back to Moody at the Movies. I'm your host, Mr. Moody, and this is the channel where I go see a movie in theaters and instantly need to come back here and talk to you guys about it. I rate everything on my 5-scale popcorn bucket rating system, 5 being it's worth every kernel, and 1 being they burned the popcorn. You'll get my rating towards the end of this video, but without further ado, let's talk about the end of Oak Street. The end of Oak Street was written and directed by David Robert Mitchell, the man behind the 2014 horror film It Follows, which was produced by J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot and distributed by Warner Brothers. The premise is genuinely one of the most fun ideas I've heard in years. You have a mysterious cosmic event that just rips an entire suburban neighborhood, which is Oak Street, out of the 1980s and it transports it to prehistoric times. The Platt family wakes up and dinosaurs are walking down their street. Spinosaurus, T-Rex, creatures from 65 million years ago, and now they're in their front yard and the Platt family has to figure out a way to survive. Now this film also had a rough road to release. Originally it was titled Flowerville Street and it was pushed from May 2025 to March 2026 and then to August 2026. So it had several rounds of reshoots, behind the scenes production issues, and just all these different red flags that you could imagine that was flying off the wall before this film even hit theaters. Let me start with what this film gets right before anything else. The 1980s setting. Setting a film in the 80s right now, it could go one or two ways. You either blast classic songs every 5 minutes and dress everyone in tiny shorts and call it a day, or you actually live in the period without making it a costume. The end of Oak Street does the second thing perfectly. It feels like a real neighborhood in a real time period without constantly reminding you what decade you are in. It is just life until it very suddenly isn't. And at the center of that neighborhood is the Platt family. Denise, who is played by Anne Hathaway, Greg, the father, who is played by Ewan McGregor, their daughter Audrey, and their son Brian. The Platt family is a family that has problems before the dinosaurs even come into the picture. Greg and Denise are struggling in their marriage, and the kids can sense it. So the film really takes its time building up to it. And what I really appreciate about the end of Oak Street is that the film does take its time setting up this family dynamic before all the chaos begins. I appreciate that they did something that a lot of these other films forget, is that you have to make us care about these characters first before we can fear for them in these movies, and I really like the emotional connection of that. Also, Hathaway and McGregor, they're both outstanding in this film. They sell the marital tension, the survival panic, and the emotional weight of what the family goes through, a way that never once feels like they're just going through the motions. Anne Hathaway specifically gives one of the most grounded performances I've seen from her in years. And that brings me to something else I want to talk about, because it's the best way I can describe what this film feels like. There's a term movie fans use called Amblin, which is named after Steven Spielberg's production company. It describes films like E.T., Back to the Future, The Goonies, and their original Jurassic Park. Big adventures where ordinary people encounter extraordinary situations. The end of Oak Street fits that description of an Amblin perfectly. Now I want to talk about Jurassic Park. When people hear dinosaur movie in the year 2026, they instantly start to think of the Jurassic Park franchise. Not only do I think that's fair, I think it's necessary for this film. The original Jurassic Park was made in 1993 by Steven Spielberg, and it's one of the greatest blockbusters ever made. The dinosaurs look great, the terror was great, just the specific feeling of watching a T-Rex footprint fill with water before you see what is even making it. That film created a feeling that has never quite been replicated, and the franchise has been chasing that feeling ever since. Then we have Jurassic World, which came out in 2015, and it made over $1 billion, but it never came close to the original magic that Jurassic Park gave us. Then you have Fallen Kingdom in 2018, which went in a strange horror direction that divided a bunch of people. And then they also gave us Dominion in 2022, which had dinosaurs running loose in the railroad. And this is the premise fans have wanted for years, and it somehow made it feel like Fast and Furious with reptiles, which also got a lot of mixed reviews. So the franchise has been trying to get their franchise back to what made their original special, and they just haven't been able to nail it yet. But the end of Oak Street offers us something new, not because it is as technically groundbreaking as Jurassic Park was in 1993, but just because it understands the same thing Spielberg understood, which was that the dinosaurs only work if you're terrified for the people they are hunting. The family dynamic, the real stakes, the fear running through every scene, that is the Jurassic Park formula. And this film executes it better than any dinosaur movie since the original. I said it at the beginning of my video, and I meant it. This is better than any modern Jurassic film we have gotten, and it's not even close. The end of Oak Street has a lot of positives, so let's cover some of them right now. The dinosaurs in this film look and feel genuinely great. There's real variety variety in the prehistoric creatures. There's a Spinosaurus, a T-Rex, and this terrifying snake-like slimy creature that kind of made everyone squirm in a way. And although this film is rated PG-13, they definitely pushed that rating to its absolute limits. There's real blood, neighbors get taken, kids are in genuine fear, so this isn't the sanitized version of a PG-13 movie. Also, the pacing in the end of Oak Street is strong, and it just hits every emotional beat exactly when it needs to. It genuinely echoes John Williams' original Jurassic Park work in the best way possible. The one honest critique I have about this film is that it is a slow build in the beginning, and it really does take its time to get into all of the chaos, but I think it's worth it. I think the payoff justifies every minute of that build up, because when this film started to ramp up, it didn't stop. Now, besides the pacing, the second problem that I have with this film is the character Jeanette. So it's played by Jordan Alexa Davis, and Jeanette, she's a neighbor who gets written into the story, and then she just never really does anything with purpose. It's not the actress herself, it's just the character in this movie. Jeanette kind of just felt like a character that was just added to fill the gaps and just never was really fully integrated into the plot. She kind of just feels like she's just there existing. I don't know, every time she appeared on screen, I just found myself thinking, why is she even here? What does she add to this story? And the answer the film gives you is not satisfying. In a film where every other character earns their place, the Platt family, the neighbors who make specific choices, Jeanette just sticks out as the one element that feels unfinished. Okay, now we're in spoiler territory, so if you have not seen the end of Oak Street, go ahead and pause, go see the movie, and then come back here. But for those who have seen it, or for those who don't care to see it, let's get right into it. So what actually happens in this film is that the Platt family is thrown back to prehistoric times when Oak Street is ripped through a cosmic wormhole, and the film just quickly establishes that these wormholes are the key to everything. They are the mechanism behind the time displacement, and they're potentially the way home. The marital couple, Greg and Denise, whose marriage is falling apart, are forced to confront not just the dinosaurs outside, but everything between them while trying to keep their kids alive. The film does a great job at handling the dual storyline of being in a marriage crisis and survival in a way that just doesn't feel forced. One of my favorite scenes of this movie is when a T-Rex attack catches the family off guard, and Greg sees Denise directly in the path of the dinosaur. So Greg, he has to make a split decision, and he runs towards the danger to pull her out of the way. So Denise is backed into a corner on the front porch of a house, and she's kicking and screaming after the dinosaur pretty much took her shotgun away and ate it for the most part. So she's defenseless. And Greg's running, and he takes the sledgehammer and he hits the dinosaur in the leg to kind of make him immobile, and the dinosaur stumbles to its knee. And then Greg takes the sledgehammer and swings it across the dinosaur's face, and the dinosaur then falls to the ground. Then after this moment, Greg and Denise, they embrace each other and they love on each other until the dinosaur has other plans in mind. The dinosaur ends up waking up, and it flips Greg on his back and grabs him by his leg, and boom, Greg's leg is already gone. And that's when I thought, okay, you know what? Greg lost his leg, they'll still find a way to get it out, he's good, they gave him a second to breathe. But then that's when the dinosaur double backs, and then boom, swallows Greg whole, and Greg's just dead. I know it's the most shocking scene for me, and also my favorite scene, but you could also tell from other people's reaction in my theater that they didn't expect it either. So that was really good writing and storytelling on their part. And nobody saw it coming, because the film had been building Greg and Denise's reconciliation so carefully that you could just feel them getting back to each other through everything they were surviving together. And then it just takes them away at that exact moment you thought they were both going to make it. It was an emotional gut punch, and it just earned every second of shock it created. The film also doesn't stop there, because here's where the wormhole mechanic becomes something genuinely clever. So when the surviving Platts jump through a wormhole, they arrive back in present, but just minutes before the original cosmic event that took Oak Street in the first place. So Denise calls the pizza place that Greg works at part-time and orders a delivery to their address, which pulls him away from Oak Street at the exact moment it disappears. And Greg shows up with the pizza, having no idea what his family just lived through, and the look on their faces of seeing him alive, tears rolling down their eyes, and just knowing what it costs is the emotional climax of this entire film. Alright, so here's where the end of Oak Street officially lands for me. I think the end of Oak Street is a genuinely great summer blockbuster that does something modern Hollywood has been struggling to do for years, which is make another good dinosaur movie. You get exceptional performances from Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor. The dinosaurs are spectacular. The emotional gut punch of Greg's death followed by the pizza delivery ending is the kind of storytelling that stays with you after the credits roll. Really just the slow start and the Jeanette problem is what keeps this film from being perfect, but what it it gets right, it gets completely right. So the end of Oak Street is gonna get 4 out of 5 popcorn buckets for me. Definitely grab that large. It's absolutely worth getting a ticket to go see, and I genuinely do hope it becomes a new franchise. This is the kind of film that deserves to keep going. Drop your rating in the comments below. Do you believe that the end of Oak Street is better than modern day Jurassic Park films? Hit subscribe for honest reviews every time something new in theaters comes out, and I'll see you at the movies.